Hello and welcome to the show. This week's FailRace versus the community, we were to go racing with B-Class cars fitted with Rotary engines, and as you can imagine, it was a rather incredible noise that there was as we came down towards the first corner here at Watkins Glen. The Watkins Glen short circuit is a track I absolutely adore. However, it is quite a difficult track to actually get overtakes done. It's a very, very fast circuit. This Mazda RX-8 we were following was catching up to the back of a Fiat. The 595 can indeed have a rotary engine, and while the Fiat was not particularly quick through the corners, it was very, very fast on the straight, as was a Mazda Cosmo that came from a long way back. The Cosmos and the 595s could be incredibly, stupidly fast in a straight line if you put a lot of power in them, but they did tend to be quite difficult to drive. The red RX-8 here spotted an opportunity to get up the inside of another Mazda and would get the position. There were some interesting cars that could have rotary engine, the Fiat being one of them. A Renault Clio is of all the vehicles, I'm not quite sure why the Clio ends up with a rotary, but there you go. This one actually pretty damn quick in a straight line. The RX-7 ducked out of the slipstream to have a look getting past, and then the Clio just drove away from it in a straight line. But the Renault not quite so good through the corners, ran a little bit too wide down through turn one. That allowed the buzz box up the inside, and as they run up through the S's, the Renault is stuck on the outside for the first part, can't quite keep it alongside, has to fall back into line. Unfortunately for the RX-7, brushes the curb, and it is a nasty curb up there that just tips his car into the wall ever so slightly, and the Renault would get back past around the outside. Yeah, a little bit of nasty curves around there. This was a battle that was to go on for the entirety of the race between a Mazda Cosmo and another Renault Clio. This was all over fourth place. The Renault, very, very quick through the corners. The Cosmo, you might be able to hear, had the quad rotor in it. Now, to get a quad rotor in a car and keep it in B-Class was very difficult. I tried a few cars. You can do it, but they tend to be absolutely awful to drive. And sure enough, the Cosmo was very, very slow through the corners, incredibly fast on the straight, so the Renault would find a way past. Second to get near a straight, the Cosmo would bugger off again. And it's just a constant battle that was going on between them. I was having a little bit of a similar story further back with my MX-5. I was racing against a Fiat. My Mazda was an incredibly quick car around here, but it didn't have the straight line speed. The likes of the Fiat. The Fiat absolutely buggers off down. It's a relatively small straight as well down here. Fiat absolutely gone. But as soon as we come to the corner, I'm right back behind him, up towards the final turn. I have so much grip in the MX-5. I'm around the outside. The Fiat runs the curb on the inside. That puts him up onto two wheels. Makes my job a little bit easier to make it around the outside there. But here comes that acceleration once again of the Fiat down towards the first corner. The Fiat goes to the inside. I'm not even that bothered about defending. I know how much grip I have in my MX-5. I know I can run it around the outside. And the Fiat just does not have the grip. I'm not even sure if he wasn't on two wheels again down through that first corner. I would get the move done and eventually managed to break the chain at the front, and it was an RX-7 that was leading the way but was being chased down by an RX-8. It was a similar story between these two, only slightly less exaggerated. RX-7 slightly quicker car in a straight line, RX-8 a little bit faster through the corners. The RX-8 spent a good couple of laps trying to find a way past again, gets a good run down this straight, but the RX-7 is just that little bit too fast. He just can't quite do anything about the RX-7 on the inside, and he's got to go a long way round here. Fortunately for him, the RX-7 just outbrakes himself. It's just enough to put the car out wide. He's across the curbs, and then he does kind of fend it off on the inside through the next turn, but it's taken such a shallow line that he loses too much speed, and that would put the RX-8 up into the lead, but it certainly wasn't all done with quite yet, as the RX-7 was still quite close behind. If you're going to try and fend off a slightly quicker car, you can't afford to be making silly mistakes, as they are going to pounce at an opportunity to get past. As I said, my MX-5, phenomenal car. It did have one big flaw. It hated curbs. I spun it, I think, 3 times in this race, or twice, I think. Once I had a very near miss. The second you hit a curb, I was not expecting it to do this. Hit a curb and the MX-5 spins. It was awful. Other cars were having some issues. The Clio that I dropped behind also had a very sideways moment. Yeah, I was really annoyed with this car. It's probably one of my best cars I've built. A lovely car. Fastest lap here at Watkins Glen, but hit a curb, it was atrocious. So yeah, it was a little bit of a shame for my MX-5 at the front. As I said, it remained close between these two vehicles. The RX-7 could never really quite challenge to get his lead back, so it would be the RX-8 that would go on to take victory, as a lapped down car was just ahead of these two. The RX-7 would claim second, with another RX-8 coming home in third place. Been a relatively decent. There had been a bit of a shunt coming up the S's on the opening lap. The rest of the race, though, had been pretty good around here. These guys had fought pretty much the entire race. Out about lap 2, I think it was, these guys were fighting the whole way. The Clio, that is a really tough place to go around the outside, but the Renault makes the most. It has a fantastic overtake. But it's all for nothing, because here comes the Cosmo again down the straight, and the speed of that thing with the quad rotor is phenomenal. But the Clio is closer than he had been in previous laps as they run through these final corners. The Clio gets a good run out of the turn. That puts him up the inside for the next bit, forces the Cosmo to go a long way round, and the Cosmo does not have the grip out there whatsoever. The Clio has got that 4th place, but will the Cosmo have the acceleration? Not quite. Not quite enough. A very, very good race between them guys. Our second race would go to the Indianapolis GP Classic circuit. Now, we said we had rules for this, as some Cosmos go absolutely barreling past. The curbs are really weird at this track. The curbs are really weird. So we said, ignore where the curbs are. You can kind of go up to the wall at turn 1. And there's another place further around as well, where I said you could run sort of up to the grass. The really weird way they've laid out the track here, so that's why you will see cars over the course of this race taking those lines. I said it was fine, everybody knew it, so it was all even between everybody. I had a little bit of a better start in this one, running towards starting towards the front of the field, making it through the first corners and so on. I again had a very similar issue to my Watkins Glen race. My Mazda was great through the turns. Didn't have curb problems here, thankfully. Great through the turns, and then we came near a straight, and everything buggered off. So, yeah, it was a little bit of an infuriating race. I got myself around the outside of a Cosmo. The Cosmo was busy fighting for traction and so on. I got myself around the outside, but he's got so much acceleration as we come down here. On the inside of the Cosmo holds it around the outside. RX-7 is battling with a Clio up ahead of me. I've just got nowhere to go. I can't make the most of all of my my cornering speed because there's just too many cars around me. And this is where having these more handling-orientated cars you can have problems with them, as an MX-5 is doing a little bit of rallycross. I'm around the outside of a Clio coming on towards the bank circuit here. Yeah, over the course of the lap, my Mazda is a very quick car. The thing is, if I get caught up behind slower cars through the twisty bits, I can't make the most of my car's strengths, and then you kind of drop through the field if you aren't careful. Unlike at Watkins Glen, where things got spread out quite quickly, here there was a big old train of cars, and this went on for most of the race, really, having a decent-sized group of cars. Yes, it got more spread out as it went, but yeah, there was a big group of cars. We were all fighting over various positions. This RX-7 Buzzbox was having a similar issue to me, very quick through the corners, but as soon as it came to a straight, cars would go absolutely flying past. In this case, it's another one of the Cosmos here. The Cosmos were so even when they didn't have quad rotors in them, they were very, very fast cars. You see it buggering off to challenge the group ahead. But it's all very well and good going down there. As soon as they start coming towards these corners, the other cars are going to be quicker. This RX-7 is already caught up to the back of the Cosmo just through that first couple of corners. He's now trying to go around the outside of the Cosmo. It's not quite going to keep it out there. It is a long way out wide. He does, in fact, get the position. I thought the Cosmo came back at him. No, he does get the position around the outside. You can do it if you've got the handling car, but you have to make the most of every opportunity. This was the fight for second. The leader had buggered off. I think he'd started on pole or started towards the front and absolutely vanished, while everybody else was busy squabbling over positions. This one, RX-7 versus a Cosmo. This time round, though, we had the RX-7 as the faster car in a straight. I think it's about the only time a Cosmo was losing a straight line speed kind of battle between the vehicles. Cosmo running a little bit too wide. RX-7 now gets himself up the inside as they're both sliding through the next corner. The Cosmo's stuck well and truly out wide, not quite where you want to be. You can get to the inside for the next corner. The RX-7 gives him space, but then you're on the outside for one of the tougher corners. You don't really want to be stuck outside through there, and the Cosmo has to fall back into line. And now the RX-7 has just that little bit more speed, a little bit more acceleration, and would pull away from the Cosmo down this back straight. And now the Cosmo has that problem of trying to find a way past. I had a slightly frustrating race. I was racing with another MX-5. I mean, it's always good to be racing with fellow MX-5s. However, I had the handling car, he had the slightly faster car in a straight line, and I just couldn't find a way past. No matter what I did, I couldn't make any manoeuvre. If I got up alongside him, we'd come to a small acceleration zone and he would just bugger off. It was, yeah, quite a frustrating race, this one. Again, I got a great run out of this next corner. I get to the inside as we come on to the other bank circuit, but he's gone again. I just couldn't, no matter where I put my car, the straight line speed was just that little bit too much for me to be able to do anything about. So by the time we come around this bank corner, come down the main straight, I was so far back I couldn't do anything coming to turn 1. I could catch, but yeah, trying to get an overtake done around here against those cars that are that bit faster than you was proving to be quite difficult. And this was a story that was mirrored throughout the entire field. Wherever you looked, it didn't seem to matter where you looked in this field, somebody was driving a handling car against someone with a speed car, and the handling car was having a really tough time doing anything about it. We're back to the Cosmo and the RX-7 here. Exactly the same story that I was having with the other MX-5. The Cosmo here with all of that speed. I mean, you can see how much of a handful some of these cars could be to drive if you've gone a little bit too crazy with the power, sliding their way out onto this bank circuit. The RX-7 was right there, coming into the twisty bits, and now the Cosmo is going to bugger off. I think it's a Clio that is now very, very quickly, and we get alongside the RX-7, probably passing before they got down towards turn 1. Even further back, I think it's about for 12th, 13th place between these cars. We've got a buzz box and one of the modern RX-7s. Exactly the same story. The RX-7 on the outside has all of that straight line speed. We'll get past, you can see him pulling away as they come down towards turn 1, but it's not quite as good under brakes as the buzz box. A little bit of a lock-up certainly won't help as he runs wide through the first corner. That would put the RX and the buzz box back past very, very close. The Indicator coming together through there, but yeah, this was pretty much the story of the race throughout the field. Wherever you looked, there were battles going on in this manner. It made for quite an interesting race because there was lots and lots of position swapping going on. At the front, though, it was a buzz box that was to go on and take victory. As I said, started towards the front, if not on pole, and vanished. Completely, utterly vanished. Drove away from the rest of the field. Certainly did help that second place was having a big battle and everything further back was squabbling amongst themselves. It's always helpful when you can pull away and the rest of the field were fighting. But even if we weren't, I don't think we were any match for this RX-7. Yeah, was a very, very quick car. This was the fight for second. This went on for a large part of the race as well, with the RX-7 proving just that little bit too difficult to get past. The Cosmo tried to have a go on the final lap. He ended up tapping the rear of the RX-7. That put the Mazda sideways, but the Cosmo hasn't got the speed. Even if he could get past at this point, which he can't quite do, he's trying to hold it around the outside, and that is a tough manoeuvre to do. To try and keep your car alongside there is not easy around this part of the track, and he does. But it's all for nothing because the RX-7 has got that acceleration and straight line speed as they come onto the banks, onto the oval, and the RX-7 is past, and the Cosmo has no answer. And the other MX-5 has caught up quite quickly as well. He didn't quite make up enough ground to catch the Cosmo before the line. But yeah, there was a recurring story throughout the race in this one. Our final race would go to the Sebring Full Circuit in rather soggy conditions, and you can already see the power cars in this one, as quite a few cars were squirming as they tried to get the power down off the line. Unfortunately, things go a little bit wrong in turn 1 here, with a few cars having some difficulties. Certainly in the wet can be rather challenging to get everything right, especially in some of the more difficult to drive cars. The Clio we're following has a very, very near miss across the puddle. There's a huge twitch from the Renault as he stuck a couple of wheels across the puddles, and a few cars taking to the grass as well later on in the lap. The Renault getting to the inside of an RX-3. The RX-3s have good straight line speed typically, but running across a puddle, not a good idea. See the RX-3 getting a big slide. You have to be very, very wary of these puddles. The Clio continued to fight with some RX-3s going around the outside. That's a brave outside manoeuvre, that part of the track as well. Very, very quick corner to get overtakes done. I was being very mindful of curbs. If I sort of strayed across them, I would rather very much avoid them, with my MX-5's tendency to have some issues. The RX-3 here tried to have a go up the inside, couldn't quite get far enough alongside, slowed himself down on the exit, and then we got another very, very quick Cosmo is going to come tearing past down this back straight. Yeah, relatively sizable straight, and certainly having that straight line speed made the overtaking that bit easier as they come into the very nasty, incredibly bumpy final corner here at Sebring. Further back, more Cosmos trying to make their way through the order. Get another one here with plenty of straight line speed, and at Sebring there were places to make the most of it, as we're again going to have another car. Well, it looked like he was going to go for the outside. He certainly leaves space on the inside for the buzz box, but the Cosmo's got so much speed, got so much acceleration that he is passed without really having too many issues. Certainly helpful when you do have that speed. Again, we saw the leader buggering off in this race. It was a four-wheel drive Fiat, so kind of understandable in these conditions. It absolutely buggered off at the front of the field. This was the fight over second place between a Buzzbox and an RX-8 as we run down the back straight. Fairly evenly matched cars, these. RX-8 perhaps having a tiny little bit more straight line speed, but it wasn't massive. The RX-8 going to the inside as they come into the final corner. Very tough corner to make an overtaking manoeuvre stick. Very tough to get the braking right and everything right through this final corner. We tend not to actually see that many overtakes. I mean, we see a fair few mistakes through there, but not that many overtakes at that part of the track because it's such a difficult overtaking spot. But the RX-8 would move up into second there. Further back, we were again seeing a relatively spread out field, especially with these wet conditions proving quite tricky for some of the cars. Yeah, the field did spread out pretty quickly. There were still some good little groups of cars. These two RX-8s going side by side as they leave the hairpin. The red car managing to make it through before you reach the Puddle of Doom. You really don't want to be going too wide through. The Puddle of Doom is scary enough on your own. You really don't want to be going too wide through there, but with the acceleration of that red car, he could get the pass done. As we came towards the closing stages of the race, I'd found some speed in my MX-5 and had caught up, and we were now having a three-way battle over the second place. I was still lacking the straight line speed, but was very, very good under brakes coming into the hairpin. I was making a huge amount of time under brakes coming into here and got decent drive out of the corner. And so on the RX-8, though, was also making good time on the car ahead. He was still looking to find a way back past the buzz box. Unfortunately, things would go wrong. When it came to the Puddle of Doom, it was inevitable it was going to claim someone. It just so happened to be the RX-8 ahead of me. Just hit the puddle a little bit wrong. So easy to have the cars fire off the track in that manner. It is a nasty, nasty puddle. And yeah, the RX-8, we'd all done pretty damn well, actually, at not having issues across there. But yeah, on the final lap, I think it was, it gave me a podium. At the front, though, it was a Fiat 595 that would take victory by a rather sizable margin, far quicker than the rest of us. Having four-wheel drive and managing to escape the chaos at the start, and yeah, just a much quicker car around here, absolutely vanished. I think it was about a 2-second lap quicker than us. Admittedly, we were fighting over second, but yeah, we had no answer to the Fiat. So, yeah, I think we had the Buzzbox came home in second. I got a podium. I quite like my MX-5, got to say. It hated the curbs, and I wish I could tune it to stop hating the curbs. I tried, couldn't quite. I thought I got it quite well, but not at Watkins Glen. They were far too much for it to deal with. I did like the MX-5, though. Did pretty well. I haven't really built a handling car that's been good on Forza 6 for a while, so it was nice to see. And especially, of course, it being an MX-5, it was nice to see it go very, very quickly. Anyway, that is it for this week's Versus the Community. The next one shall be held on Thursday the 7th. We are going to be racing with cars made in 2015, seeing as we've just started a new year. I saw someone suggest on the forums, it sounds like an interesting thing to have a go with. So we're going to run with cars made in 2015. We're going to build them up to A-Class, so there is a decent variety of vehicles to choose from. Anyway, that is it from me. If you want to sign up to take part, in that, then you can go to our forums. There will be a link in the description. Find the FailRace vs Community section, and you can sign up in there. But yeah, that is it for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.